Hello guys, Stock Saturday, although it's Thursday night for me, away at the weekend, so yes, I'm doing it a little bit early. A little bit of a roller coaster at the moment. Last week, obviously, enormously down, and then this week, 12.8% up as of Thursday night at least. Who knows what will happen tomorrow? Yeah, £64,000, rather nice. Looking at the markets from Monday, that is. S&P is up 1.1%, so very nicely beating that. I suppose over the last 2 weeks, I think I'm, don't know, near enough flat, I suppose. And the Nasdaq 1.95% over the last 5 days, but 1.76 from Monday. So yeah, it's a mildly up week so far for the markets. I'm seeing sort of varying performance across my stocks. A couple of sort of reasonably big hits on Hymax and CF Industries, and some sort of reasonable gains on semiconductor side. We've had 100% tariffs from the looks of it from the semiconductor side from the US. Doesn't seem to have bothered the stocks too much. A few of them sort of seeing a reasonable bump. Broadcom over $300 now on that news even, and TSMC up to 242. So I'm at new highs for both of them. And yeah, some of the others, Applied Materials, sort of doing okay, and yeah, a little bit of a strange one. But beginning of the month generally means it's Bitcoin miner week for me, as long as I'm in the Bitcoin miners, of course, which may not be all that much longer. Sort of looking to potentially sell out by the end of the year, if not sort of maybe going into Q1 2026, because yeah, long term it just keeps looking more and more like an appalling business model. But yeah, I like that sort of leverage crypto for now, somewhat, albeit underperforming. But yeah, CleanSpark sort of doing okay numbers, not great. They sort of are saying operational hash rate of 50 exahash, which I think is a different number to what everyone else is reporting. They're saying operational hash rate refers to the highest hash rate historically achieved concurrently. So that's not sort of month end actual hash rate. They're sort of taking a peak that they've achieved. That could have been a spike during the month, and yeah, sort of not ideal. Average operating hash rate, they're saying, for the month is 41.9. So yeah, to sort of be calling that 50, it's not ideal. I don't think they've been expanding all that much this month, so can sort of see why the total wasn't ideal. 671. I was kind of hoping to be sort of still above 700. So yeah, a little bit strange reporting from CleanSpark. And yeah, they are selling pretty much all of their production. Most of the miners do seem to be at the moment. They've got 12,703, so they sold 575 of the 671. I'm not against that, to be honest, with Bitcoin at sort of 115,000. That's fine. That's better than dilution, I would say. So yeah, that was pretty much it for CleanSpark, to be honest. Looking at Riot. I thought Riot had a decent month, to be honest, decent for Riot, not decent overall. Obviously, Riot are sort of at quite a large market cap, considering they only have 35 and a half exahash and only 30.2 operating, because they did a load of convertible debt and stock issuance to buy all their Bitcoin, and they only have 19,287. CleanSpark have 12,000 odd, and yeah, they produced 484 which up from 450 last month, so not too bad. But and they sold 475, so all of it pretty much, even more of a percentage than CleanSpark. But the nice number, I suppose, it is right in the peak of summer. We'll probably get the same thing in August. Power credits, $12.6 million, up from 3.8 million, and another 1.3 in demand response credits. So, yeah, total power credits more than doubling. And it was 3.7 last year in July, so it's up over 3x from July last year. So really, really solid. Whether this is sort of accumulation of previous credits or what's going on, that seems an unusually high month. I'm not expecting that to carry on, but for this month at least, that's really strong. Brings all-in power cost down to 2.8 cents, which is exceptionally low. But as I keep sort of mentioning, other countries and sort of state-owned energy companies and people are essentially mining for free electricity. It's surplus energy that they have no use for. So you could essentially call that zero cents per kilowatt hour. Effectively even negative in some areas because they have to sort of pay to dispose of it, like flaring gas and that sort of thing. So yeah, if you're going to get other entities sort of mining for negative electricity cost essentially, then you can't really compete with that. Everyone says sort of nothing beats free, negative beats free. So yeah, that's part of the reason I don't want to hold the miners long term. They've mentioned the data centers, obviously still looking for an AI deal. They have 1 gigawatt of power available at Corsicana, and just sort of everyone is just still saying we're in advanced talks with a number of people. Still only got sort of Core Scientific, TeraWulf, and Galaxy with an actual deal. Although those deals so far don't seem to have been all that good. So maybe holding out until the industrial sort of cycle hots up again won't be the worst thing. Still got until the end of the year and sort of some into January on the options. So if it happens by then, that would be good. And we got Herein as well, been getting some of their news sort of during the month. So this sort of roundup is a little bit of a roundup of what we kind of already knew. But yeah, pretty good numbers. They reached their 50 exahash, although again, average operating 45.4. I think that is partly just because of expansion in July. But 728 Bitcoin mined, pretty happy with that. Up from 620 in June. So yeah, very solid. Net electricity cost 27,976. So that's a very nice profit. They sort of still call it hardware profit margin, which is literally just revenue minus electricity cost. Obviously, there's far more costs that actually go into that. And then AI cloud services, $2.3 million for the month, sort of somewhat slow growing, although they're deploying their new NVIDIA order that they made. They said this is all initial B200 shipment completed and fully contracted. So as fast as they can get them, in theory, they are being contracted for use. So that was very nice to hear, and yeah, tiny de minimis amount of energy used for this, so it is a lot of capex to get the facilities ready, but then once it's running, in theory, it is very, very high profit margin, hardware profit margin at least. And they are talking, same as everyone else, about the potential AI deals, continuing to secure long lead equipment for the big sites, and yeah, basically saying they're in discussions with a number of customers or potential customers. Saw somebody point out a couple of days ago as well the size of the sort of data centers that are currently being built or are sort of operational. I think Meta's is sort of operational, is one of the largest in the world, and that's 150 megawatts. Herein obviously are looking to push their 50 megawatt site that they have sort of ready for the end of the year, and yeah, that's 50 megawatts. So when they're sort of talking about 1.4 gigawatt sites being ready for energization, at least in April 2026, that's not sort of fully ready in April. It's 1,400 megawatts. That's an enormous site. Whether there's demand for, whether that would be multiple clients, as in sort of 10 clients on that one site, all taking, different parts of it, whether you could actually build 1,400 megawatts of, data center itself, or, whether it'd have to be split up and maybe not use all of it. Don't quite know. And then another 600 megawatts for late 2027. I hope to be long out of the miners probably by April 2026. So yeah, that is just people getting excited about the future for me. That's not something I would probably be there to experience. But yeah, a lot of sort of interesting discussion on this, whether they would sort of sell like just the land potentially to a big hyperscaler, or sort of put a very basic shell on it, or sort of just sell the land and power purchasing agreements. There's lots of different configurations that you could have of this. Obviously, they haven't got the capital to sort of build this out. Like I say, Meta's facility, they're sort of spending tens of billions, I think, on, and it's like 150 megawatts. So yeah, we haven't got $100 billion to be building out sort of 1,400 megawatt sites. So yeah, interesting to see where this one goes and how much how much of this is actually usable. So we saw a very large drop on Himax, 17%. Some of this seems to be sort of a little bit seasonal. There's a bit of a sort of an adjusted EPS issue here, in that they pay their staff quite a large bonus, it looks like, in Q3 every year, and as such they've given guidance for Q3, revenue decreasing 12 to 17%, which isn't ideal, and that isn't affected by bonuses or anything, but they're expecting a net loss of 2 to 4 cents. I think they have said the impact of that bonus is around 4 cents. So essentially the whole loss is down to the bonus, but yeah, it's not, even without that, to say it's break even, that wouldn't have been ideal. But yeah, it's just a lot worse than people were expecting. We've seen sort of Q2 was okay. I keep sort of mentioning about Himax. We still keep saying it's next quarter or next few quarters or even next year. Last year we were saying it's next year. So yeah, there's a lot of people on sort of places like StockTwits basically saying it's a never-ending sort of future proposition, and it's the worst stock ever. And yeah, I don't really think they're thinking long-term enough. This sort of TSMC deal together with, or co-packaged optics as they're calling it, it doesn't happen in a week. It's going through with TSMC and Nvidia and people like that. If it takes a little bit longer to play out, then I think that's worth it as long as it does. I think they're sort of ignoring the potential there, sort of saying, in past years there's always been something in the future that is a key driver for profits, and they're just seeing this as exactly the same. And it may be, that could this could all fall through. There could be competitors that come up with similar things, but so far everything I've been seeing is saying Himax are the lead in this area, and they are the lead partner for TSMC on it, and that would be a many billion dollar industry. So yeah, they're obviously throwing in the HPC and AI buzzwords of the time, but I still think that has potential. Obviously my options have taken rather a hit because it's down to $7.50 now, and the options are for it to go above $10. So to have that by the end of the year has taken quite the hit. So just looking at their breakdown, revenues ever so slightly down from Q1, down quite a lot from Q2 last year, to be fair, so that's not ideal. Costs and expenses down, but R&D up quite a bit. So yeah, not too unhappy with spending on R&D. That's fine. And yeah, profit for the period 17 million compared to 20 in Q1, 29 million last year. So it's not ideal, and Q3 they're saying is going to be a net loss due to this payment to the staff. But yeah, it's basically is one that we've got to just look to the future, really. If the silicon photonics industry does come into view, then these numbers, will all be forgotten about, basically, because you could get, triple, 4, 5 times this in profit in 2 years, basically. So if that starts to look likely, then you don't wait 2 years and then price all of that in. It starts to all get priced in advance. So yeah, basically we have to see where things go. And yeah, balance sheet wise, not a huge amount of change. Cash is up 29 million from Q1, so that's pretty good. Still got this restricted deposit and short-term borrowings on the balance sheet, but long-term debt, long-term unsecured borrowings down from this time last year and from Q1. So yeah, 25 million. That's good to see, paying a little bit of that off. So yeah, market hasn't liked it, but I'm happy to carry on waiting and see if the TSMC deal comes to fruition. Economic news wise, Tuesday we got a very stagflationary, I guess, poor set of numbers for ISM, non-manufacturing PMI. So it's basically the whole of the US economy, because they don't do a huge amount of manufacturing anymore. You got 50.1, whereas expected to be quite a bit higher. So it's not quite under 50 would be contractionary potential for recession, but it's basically flat. But a 70 on prices. So prices going up, but people aren't particularly bullish about the future. That's obviously not ideal. People running businesses and things having to pay more for more services, isn't great at all. Yes, Wednesday was basically very quiet. Thursday we got the UK, today we got the UK cut rates. They were expected to be 8-1 in favour of a cut, and it was 5-4. So yeah, practically a draw. As from the sounds of it, somebody was 0.5% cut and changed his mind basically to get this to go through. So yeah, there's a little bit of not coercion, I suppose, but persuasion from Andrew Bailey, I guess. So yeah, down to 4%. It's not exactly going to make a huge difference, 0.25%. And US job numbers both a little bit worse, or unemployment numbers at least, 1.97 million now in continuing unemployment basically, but still not that many new people losing their jobs. They just can't get another job. And portfolio-wise, seen some rather big moves. Coeur mining, $11.28, so that's doing exceptionally well. Thinking back to my average cost, sort of, I think a year and a half ago now, of $2.58. So continuing to move, although I'm still expecting a reasonable amount more from silver, and they've sort of obviously gone more silver focused now than ever. So yeah, happy with that. Fresnillo still really pushing on as well, 132% in the green. That went to sort of $17 odd this morning. So yeah, really good. Not seeing whether that's earnings, whether their earnings are out just yet. But yeah, so I think Coeur minings are out. Sort of maybe have a look at those next week. And yeah, the miners sort of having a bit of a struggle at the moment. Clean Spark and Riot sort of both have been quite a bit higher recently. So yeah, we'll have to see. Bitcoin sort of really needs a decent move fairly soon, I think, if the miners are going to do anything. Pan American though, $31.44. That's a very nice move. And KGHM getting a little bit of love as well. So yeah, strong move in the interactive brokers side. And on the options, yeah, we've seen a nice move back for iron. They sort of dropped quite a bit down and have, yeah, come back off a little bit of positivity in the Bitcoin market. Hive still sort of struggling. They're obviously pretty much the highest cost miner, on the markets basically. So they really need a very quick move up in Bitcoin to do anything. Some of these options are for a $10 strike price by January basically. So with them at $2, it's time is running out for that basically. It really needs to get going. I do have some at sort of $4 and $3.50, $5. So they're sort of seeming a little bit more, they have a little bit more potential, but yeah, we'll have to see. Coeur mining obviously moving up to sort of $11 odd. My strikes on those are sort of $5, $4. So yeah, they are just continuing to push further into the money. 1200 odd percent. I didn't sell any of the options. I sold a little bit of Coeur mining in the ISA, but could do maybe even tomorrow if this continues. Take a little bit of profit on the options, and yeah, the rest sort of Equinox has moved up a little since last week. Himax obviously taking an enormous knock, down about £7,000 or something. I think that was down 60% today on that large move. I haven't reordered them, which I need to. And yeah, Riot not really moving. Cypher and Clean Spark not really moving. So interesting. As I say, rather a roller coaster when you're in this sort of portfolio. But I love it, of course. Obviously, keep mentioning the cash will have to go at some point, probably in the next few weeks, and so that'll be knocking the portfolio down sort of 55,000-ish, but doesn't count as a loss in returns. It'll just be a lower number. So yeah, leave your thoughts in the comments below and like and subscribe. See you soon.